Hey up! Right, I haven't done a watch review for quite a while. In fact, I think it's just over a year since I last did one. Now, when I was a kid, we used to go to this dentist's on Holderness Road in Hull. It was an old house that had been converted into a surgery. And in the waiting room on the table, they used to leave these old magazines, sort of, I want to say National Geographic type magazines. You know, they're all about adventure, climbing Mount Everest, adventures in the jungle, expeditions to the poles, that kind of thing. And as a child of round about 10 years old, I used to engross myself in these magazines because I was trying to put out of my mind what was coming up in the next few minutes. And one thing that's always stuck in my mind from these magazines were adverts for Longines, still among the finest wristwatches of the era. The quartz crisis hadn't quite bitten back then, and, you know, Swiss watches were still the best. Now, I have no idea what watches were actually being advertised. It was the sort of backstories that were in the adverts that fascinated me. These weren't fancy, glitzy dress watches. These were watches built for adventure. Mainly dive watches, I think, with the backstory of a dive or the discovery of some long-lost wreck. Because of this, Longines have always stuck in my mind with a sort of, you know, romantic notion of adventures. And up until a few years ago, you know, I had no idea that they were still on the go. Luckily, they were rescued and brought within the umbrella of the Swatch Group, like Omega and Hamilton, and a lot of other well-known brands. Let's get it out there from the beginning. Longines, although not the most expensive watches in the world, they are a sort of base level luxury watch. And I purchased one a few years ago, the Longines Spirit. Putting aside things like houses, motorcycles and cars, I can safely say this was the most expensive item I'd ever bought. I did my research and I did actually get it for a fantastic price. I still think to this day that the jewellers that were selling it online had made some sort of mistake. And I had to finance it so that I could pay for it over a few months. And over the last couple of years, quite a few people have mentioned it when they've seen it in videos and asked me if I would review it. Now, it was my intention to do that, and I probably still will, because it is an outstanding aviator-based timepiece. Now, this Longines Spirit collection has been an outstanding success for Longines. They're a company that's known mainly for the heritage models, and this was something a little bit different. Longines has a long and rich heritage when it comes to aviation, but this watch is a contemporary watch with sort of the essence of a classic Longines watch, if you know what I mean. For me, someone who's interested in classic design, it just ticks all the right boxes. And then in March last year, building on the success of the Spirit range, Longines announced the Longines Spirit Zulu time. This watch really grabbed my attention for a number of reasons. It builds beautifully on the original Spirit framework. A true GMT traveller's watch, but it was the history that fascinated me, and its association with Amy Johnson, a local hero here in Hull. A lady that featured very prominently in lessons at school, especially primary school, because Longines gifted her one of their original Zulu time watches. For her attempt to be the first female to fly solo from London to Australia, an attempt that was very successful. Amy was a local girl born on St George's Road, daughter to a fish merchant or wholesaler. She was educated first of all in Hull and then later at Sheffield University, eventually moving to London to become a secretary for a firm of solicitors. She was bored with a secretarial work, and a chance encounter at an air show prompted her to take up flying lessons. Qualified as a pilot, went on to achieve several world records, including, as I've said, the first female to fly solo from London to Australia. Whenever she flew to Hull to, see family, or in this case, as you can see, she was invited back to Hull to celebrate her achievements, she would land her Gypsy Moth aeroplane at Hull Aerodrome, which actually is just behind where I live. It's no longer an airfield. It was acquired and closed down at the beginning of World War II. But other than that, it's remained exactly the same as it was then back in 1930. Amy died tragically and mysteriously during World War II. She worked as a ferry pilot, sort of piloting planes from one airport to another for the war effort, and mysteriously disappeared over the River Thames. Her body was never found. Longines gifted Amy one of their original Zulu time model wristwatches, an invaluable aid to navigation back in those days. And this watch allowed Amy to track not only local time where she was flying, but Greenwich Mean Time as well. Or as it's also referred to, Greenwich Meridian Time, or UTC. 0 minutes and 0 degrees, 0 shortened to Z, which of course in the phonetic alphabet was by pilots, shipping and most of the armed forces as Zulu, hence the name Zulu Time. And after many years of negotiations, Longines recently managed to reacquire Amy's watch, which is now held in their museum. Now, my love of Longines, the Spirit range, and this rich backstory that really resonates with me as, a resident of Hull, meant that I absolutely had to have this watch. I'm a sucker for history, but I couldn't really afford it. And then just before Christmas, my partner, she took me into Berry's Jewellers, one of our local jewellers, and sorted me one out as a Christmas present. This video is in no way sponsored by Berry's Jewellers, but I sort of got to know the manager, Nick, quite well while we were in there. And I've managed to sort viewers of this channel a little discount out. I'll give you the details at the end of this video. Make no mistake, this Longines Zulu Time is a tool watch, but it's a luxury tool watch. It's a COSC certified chronometer. It's built to take the punishment of any adventure, yet it incorporates the attention to detail and quality that you would expect from a luxury watch. It incorporates Longines aviation design cues in a contemporary manner to function as a traveller's GMT watch. It routinely tracks 2 time zones, but can track a 3rd time zone by means of the ceramic bezel, which is bidirectional. It has a large signed screw-down crown and it's water resistant to 100 metres. I went for the green ceramic bezel option with the Anthracite matte dial, but there are 2 other colour variants available. There's a gorgeous sunburst blue version and a black version. The other 2 variants have silver accents on the dial, but on the green version they are a gorgeous warm gold tone. Starting in the centre, you have a gilt pencil shape hour and minute hand with a needle second hand featuring a loomed diamond towards the end. This diamond aligns precisely with diamond cutouts which are also loomed along the transition between the chapter ring and the dial. The chapter ring slopes upwards towards the outer edge of the dial, giving a really nice sort of 3D effect. And the transition between the chapter ring and the dial is managed with a high polish gilt ring. This ring plays with the light and offers an enormous amount of depth and interest. The GMT hand is again a needle but with an arrow fixed on the end, again loomed. And whereas the other hands operate in a normal manner that you would come to expect from any wristwatch, the GMT hand only circumnavigates the dial once every 24 hours, reading from a 24-hour scale. In 12-hour time scale is indicated by applied polished gilt Arabic numbers, which again are all generously filled with lume. Longines' hourglass logo is also applied on the dial, which by the way is the oldest trademark in the world, along with 5 gold stars applied below the handset. These apparently relate to a Longines in-house standard from years gone by, a nod to the past. And printed on the dial starting at the top and working down, the Longines name, the word automatic, indicating that this is an automatic mechanical watch, the name of the watch Zulu time, and then the chronometer certification below the stars. The date window is at the 6 o'clock position, black background with white numerals. The bezel is stainless steel, polished, with a green ceramic insert, which should be as near as damn it impervious to scratching. Now, in most lights, this green ceramic insert looks to be the same colour as the dial, a sort of an anthracite colour. But in the right light, it is pretty much a variant of British racing green, which is actually what attracted me to this colour variant. The 24-hour scale is enamelled in white into the bezel, or a sort of an off-white to match the lume, and the triangle at the 12 o'clock is fully lumed. I'm not entirely sure which lume has been used in the construction of this watch, but it's a high quality Swiss lume which lasts 6 to 8 hours and is readable at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning without any issues at all. I know that because I wear my watches to bed and it's the only way I've got of telling the time. And this is a very legible dial in the darkness. The crystal is domed and it's a high-grade sapphire crystal which has been AR coated both inside and out in order to cut down on reflection. The case is made from a 316 stainless steel. It's predominantly brushed, but the transition between the sides and the top of the case has a high polished chamfer, as you can see here. This further enhances the watch's opulent personality. Back is stainless steel and it's fixed in place with several screws. It's also liberally engraved with all sorts of important information and the Longines Zulu time logo. The movement is an ETA based movement, the L844.4, which is exclusive to Longines. It has a 70-hour power reserve, and as I said, it's chronometer certified, so it's accurate to -4 seconds a day, plus 6 seconds a day. In reality, this particular watch loses about a second every 3 days, which is quite phenomenal for something powered by a spring. Some will consider this to be quite a large watch. It has a 42mm case size with a 50mm lug-to-lug distance, and the lug size for straps is a very handy 22mm. I haven't had the time to try it yet, but I reckon that this watch would look great on the right NATO strap. Now, if this Zulu time is too big for you, the original Spirit is available in smaller sizes. You can get this watch on a leather strap if you so desire, but I always like to buy them on the bracelet. And the quality of the bracelet on this watch more than matches up to the quality of the watch head itself. It's a slightly tapering 3-link bracelet with a centre link and 2 side links. The edges or outer edges of the centre link are highly polished, just a thin pencil line, with the inner edges of the outer links also polished. Again, this gives a nice light play when you're wearing the watch, demonstrating the quality of Longines finishing. The entire clasp assembly is CNC machined from stainless steel billet. It does feature a manual micro adjustment, but it's very comfortable to wear. And one feature of this particular bracelet that you don't often see on watches of any price point really, let alone this one, is that it is a quick release type. You just push a button near to the watch head and the bracelet itself just comes away cleanly for you to fit another strap. A brilliant feature for quick toolless strap changes or for cleaning. I've not owned a GMT before, and I believe the correct way to actually use one is the index marker or GMT hand is set to Greenwich Mean Time or Greenwich Meridian Time, Zulu time, with the hour and the minute hand set to correspond to that when you're at home. Now, obviously, you could easily set these up to represent your home time. It doesn't have to be the Greenwich Mean Time. So once you've unscrewed the crown, you would pull the crown out to the second position. That's 2 clicks, and that will alter both times at the same time. Once you've set the correct time, you can then push the crown in and screw it back in place for normal use. When you travel to a different time zone, you pull the crown out 1 position, that's 1 click, and that activates the jumper hour hand. The index or GMT time will remain the same, but the hour hand can be moved to the desired local time. You can then read the local time, but also you have a reference point for the time back at home, or GMT, depending which way you're using it. This feature also allows you to adjust the date. Because you've got that jumper hand, it's very quick to quickly run through the 24-hour cycle and alter the date. And the great thing about this jumper hand system is that you can change the date forward, but you can also change it backwards if you need to. I think this is fairly typical of a GMT movement. As I say, this is the first one I've owned, so I'm not entirely sure. But once you get your head around it, it's very easy to use. Just remember to screw your crown back down in place once you've finished. And of course, the bi-directional bezel means that you can also, if you wish, track a third time zone, although I've got to admit, I've not quite got my head around that yet. All in all, this is a really high quality, robustly built luxury tool watch that punches way above the weight at this price point. I know that a lot of my viewers will balk at the price of this watch, but Longines actually provides, I think, the very best value for money Swiss luxury watch options on the market. I don't think anyone else comes anywhere near them. But if you are interested, as I say, I worked out a little discount for you with Nick at Berries. Now, Berries have a number of jewellers situated around Yorkshire. They also have a website with an online purchase facility. They stock many different brands of watches, right from Omega down to Tissot and I believe Hamilton. And of course they also sell jewellery because they're a jewellers. I've negotiated a 7.5% discount to viewers of this channel via a code which I will leave in the video description down below. Now, there are some exceptions to this code. It won't work on sale items, and there are 1 or 2 brands which are excluded. And again, I'll give details of which brands those are in the video description down below. Simply pop the code in at the checkout and it will discount 7.5% for you. Or if you live in Hull, nip down to Berries, I'm sure you know where they are if you're a Hullite. Ask to be served by Nick and then show him the video description on your phone from this video to prove that you are a viewer, and he should accommodate you with a 7.5% discount. Just to make it clear, you don't have to buy a Longines Zulu time in order to achieve that discount. It will work on most products in their store, bar sale items and the brands that are specifically excluded. Go on, treat yourself or treat your loved ones. Right, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this and my other videos, and in doing so helping to support this channel. I really do appreciate it. I would also appreciate it if you would perhaps leave a like and feed the algorithm. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. Now, if you do subscribe, hit the notification bell and ensure that the notifications in your channel settings are enabled. That way you will be informed whenever I upload a new video. I am, of course, going to be back next week, so until then, please ride safely, and I'll see you soon.